Welcome back to Programming with Adam, and in this video we'll be looking at another problem from LeetCode problems. So this is the 153. So that's how it looks like. So given a list of numbers, you find a substring of consecutive numbers that will give you the largest possible sum. Okay, so how do we do that? So right now I have something that does nothing. So this example, what is the idea? So let's just find it first. So we see here, the idea is to start from one end and have an attempt, right? So we have some sort of attempt. So we are making let's say 0, and let's have an actual max. So initially, the result. So initially we don't really know what it is, but there are some description that the number of, so let's just make it very negative. So like 2 to the power 50, to the power, so let's see. We can have at most this many numbers, and each of them can be at most this negative. So multiplying that will be 2 times 2 to the power 31. Right, so yeah. If we compare that, minus 2 to the power 35, 26. Seven, 40. What? 45. 55. Okay, so some sort of the number of, so we can have 10,000 each of them. So maybe something like, yeah, okay, so minus 2 to the power 50. Something like that. Okay, so we attempt, so we basically go from one side and we attempt for numbers in num. Right, so what do we do? So we look at the minus 2. That's our attempt. Oh yeah. So for loop. So we start with index 0, or let's say number minus 2. Okay, so what do? Our attempt will simply be that number. And okay, so we basically have said attempt plus nums times index. Right. For loop, so plus the number. Okay, so that will be minus 2. So that's our updated attempt. And so far, Okay, and if it is greater than the result, then we are updating our result. So if our attempt is better, if attempt is better, update result. So that will be kind of the next thing. So it would update. It will actually update our attempt, our result to -2, right? Okay. So what about if it's not better? Well, if not better, then forget about it. Forget -2. So we simply set our attempt to be 0 again. If it's not better, forget the number. Okay, so that was num -2. Okay, so the next one would be num is 1. So at this point, since our last attempt was better, our attempt is better than, let's call it the max instead. Max. Better than max. Update max. To attempt. Okay, so now we're having so -1. Now 1. So we have a attempt which is -2, and then we're adding 1 to it, right? Num. So that's -1 plus 1. Okay, we have a -1. Great, that's better. So again, so the attempt is better. So update max. So max is now -1. We found a list that gives us as much as -1. Okay, so now we're going to the next one. Number is -3. Okay, so the next attempt we have number -3, and we will add it to our attempt, which is the current attempt is -1, right? That's adding this up. So we're just trying to make this one a little bit longer. If we add it, we get, ouch, we get -4. So all of that is just useless. Yeah. So it was simply scrap it. So we update. So we update attempt to 0. Yeah, all of these are somehow. So there is no good attempt so far. Now we start from okay, so we are somehow scrapping everything. So notice though, even though we have forgotten about all of that, we haven't actually forgotten about that. So we still have this interval that's our best guess so far. So as we continue, because the thing is, it really, it's not worth adding the -3 altogether. No matter what comes later, like if a 0 comes later, so it's very neutral. Like if you include the -3 in the interval, it will just mess up everything. So far we have our -1, which is our max, but because of the -3, it's so bad that it overrides our all previous attempts. So that's why we are back to attempt 0. Okay, and then for the number 4, our attempt is now 0 plus 4, and that's great. So it's better than max, so we update max. So now it's S4. And now we're looking at the number -1, and then the attempt. If we expand, keep going, it will now be minus. It will be 3 now, right? Because we are subtracting 1. So we're now looking at this list here, and so of course we are not because it's not better. Then we are not updating at max, not update max, and we are looking then at the next one. The next one is 2. So our attempt is now 5, and of course that's better. So we do update max to be 5. Then the next number is 1. 1. So our attempt is 6, and then we update max. If we have -5, right, then our attempt is now down to 1, so we are not updating max. But it's still worth, right, so if, and then the 4, it will go up to the -5, and then we have the 4. Attempt is then 5, so we are not updating max. So that's the procedure. So we basically have an attempt, and then we have a global max. So max is initially very, very negative, and then, okay, we see here, we can now have an attempt of -2, have an attempt of -1. That's really good. The -3 messes it up, so we're just forgetting about everything, starting with 4, and then 3, 5, 6, and that's the global maximum, and then that's how you stop. So the crucial part is where you're forgetting about the past. So this is like when we had this minus, we had already found this one that gives us a -1, and we were happy. And then it's just not really worth extending at all, because that will just make it much smaller. And so whatever you have here, right? So because that was actually the one we found was that one, right? It's not worth, as it's very clear to see that it's not worth expanding to in this direction, right? Because the -5 messes things up. But it's the same thing in the other direction. Like if you include the -3, it's really not worth. It's really not worth including the -3, because the rest here can give you at most it was -1. Like even if this was like, yeah. Okay, so implementing this, we will be having, so first we have a max, which is that. And then we have an attempt, which is 0. Then we make for loop for num in. Okay, so I skipped you seeing me writing a code, but basically, so there it is. So let me just go through the ideas again. You have a certain maximum, and then you make an attempt, and you look at the first number. Okay, and you update, you add that to your attempt. So now the attempt is basically the best possible we think is -2. If we're trying to add 1 to that, we get -1. That's the new max. We then try to add -3. Oh wow, that's becomes negative. So we're just scrapping all of that. However, so the only thing we remember is the -1 we got. And then we look at 4, 3, 5, 6, and that's and then the total maximum becomes 6. Okay, so let me just copy that, and so let's try to run it. Looks like it runs. Submit. Okay, so I'm actually extremely happy to share this as my record so far. I think 99.97. Yeah, that's probably, there is probably no better way to do it than what's done here. Awesome.